On the coldest morning Pine Valley had seen in 100 years, Daniel Whitaker was pouring his first cup of coffee when the world outside his cabin shifted into something almost mythic. The thermometer on his porch read -40. The wind was a living thing, howling through the trees, rattling the windows, gnawing at the seams of the little wooden house he'd built with his hands. He had seen cold and lived through brutal winters, but that morning felt different, unforgiving, alive. Daniel turned toward the living room, coffee in hand. When he dropped the mug, it shattered against the floor, but he didn't even flinch, because there, through the frost-glazed window, stood a full-grown grizzly bear, upright, just inches from the glass. She wasn't growling, she wasn't tearing at the siding or sniffing for food. She was knocking, slow, rhythmic taps with one massive paw. Behind her, 3 tiny cubs huddled in the snow, barely upright in the white abyss. Their fur was thick with frost. One of them, the smallest of the 3, suddenly collapsed, disappearing into the drift like a rag doll. The mother bear turned, nudged her fallen cub, then turned back to the window. Her eyes locked with Daniel's, and something inside him stirred. She pressed the limp body against the glass. It was not random. She was showing him, begging. The wind screamed louder now, rattling the chimney. Frost crept like veins across the inside of the window. The mother bear moved back and forth, checking the cubs, then returning to the glass. Her motions were frantic, yet careful, intentional, like she was trying to communicate something she couldn't quite express. Then she did something that made Daniel's breath catch. She sat back on her haunches, raised both front paws, and held them together, like a child saying a silent prayer. Her eyes never left his. It wasn't animal instinct. It was desperation. The second cub stumbled and fell. The smallest one had already stopped shivering, a sign Daniel knew too well. Hypothermia, final stages. Death was near. The mother gathered both of her fallen cubs, pressing them to her chest, her massive body shielding them from the storm. Still, she kept returning to the window. Again, she raised her paws. Again, she knocked. But now she added something else. She began drawing. With the edge of her claw, she traced crude but deliberate lines into the frost. Circles, lines, dashes. Movements are too exact to be a coincidence. She paused only to check the cubs, then returned to mark the glass again. Daniel's phone buzzed on the counter. An emergency alert. Dangerous cold. Shelter immediately. As if to echo it, the bear gathered each cub in turn, lifting them one by one and pressing them against the glass. A mother begging a stranger to see, to understand. Daniel's body moved before his mind caught up. He stepped toward the door. The bear noticed. Her posture changed. Gentle, submissive. She lowered her head, waited. He cracked the door. She didn't move. Then, with astonishing grace, she took the smallest cub in her jaws and placed it just inside the threshold. She backed away, sat down, and waited. The warmth of the cabin hit the cub like medicine. It twitched, feebly at first. Then again. Daniel stood there, boots frozen to the floor, heart racing. The bear looked at him, then at the other cubs, then the door. Without knowing why, he nodded. One by one, she brought the other 2 inside, always stopping at the door, always waiting for his approval before setting them gently on the rug. Then she was gone, just like that, vanishing into the trees as silently as she'd come. Daniel spent the next hour wrapped in blankets and disbelief. The cubs, miraculously, were alive, weak, but breathing. He placed them near the fireplace, unsure of what else to do. He left the door open just a crack, in case she returned. The cabin stayed silent, save for the occasional soft whimper from one of the cubs. It was the most fragile, sacred sound he had ever heard. Later that evening, still dazed, Daniel checked the footage from his security cameras. He watched it all again, from the moment she appeared at the window to the final bow of her head before disappearing into the storm. Every gesture, every paw print, every look. It wasn't instinct, not entirely. It was something else. He uploaded the footage, not for likes, not for fame, just because the world needed to see it, and the world did. The video exploded. News outlets from every continent picked it up. Scientists weighed in. Some said it was learned behavior. Others argued for instinct, emotion, and maybe even grief. But Daniel knew. He'd seen the look in her eyes. Not fear, hope, compassion. A mother's love pushed beyond the boundary of species. In the days that followed, people drove up the mountain to leave food and blankets. Wildlife experts camped out, hoping to track the bear and her cubs, but they were gone. Just paw prints in the snow and a trail leading back into the trees. Weeks passed, then months. The snow melted. Spring crept in slowly and cautiously. And then, one morning, Daniel was sitting on his porch, coffee in hand, when he saw something move at the edge of the forest. It was her. She stood at the tree line, 3 strong, healthy cubs behind her. They'd grown coats thick and golden in the sun. She stepped forward, just far enough for him to see her clearly. Then, she raised one paw, held it there. Daniel's chest tightened, his throat caught. He raised his hand, too. The cubs stood on hind legs, copying their mother. 3 small paws raised high, and then they were gone, back into the woods, like a dream he hadn't realized was real until it ended. From that day forward, Daniel Whitaker never looked at wild animals the same way again, because sometimes nature doesn't knock to threaten. Sometimes it knocks to ask for help, and if you're lucky enough to listen, it might just change everything.